Nationalists are not anti-American or anti-Japanese. They're only against those policies of governments that harm the interest of the Filipino people. Policies which these governments pressure our government to adopt. Only economic nationalism will enable us to achieve basic and lasting solution to our problem of mass poverty, unemployment, unproduction, or etc. Economic nationalism means the control of the resources of the Philippines so that they may be utilized primarily in the interest of the Filipinos. Recto's writings and speeches spoke as a nationalist thinker and leader. This very speech inflicted so much anger among the Americans and his fellow Filipinos, to whom they coined term yes men for allowing foreign interference in our political and economic affairs. Recto simply aimed for the Filipinos and their leaders to make sure that Philippines' national interests were not sacrificed and give way to the American dream of how the world should be run. The Americans consequently accused him of being anti-Americans and worse, an atheist.
The Filipino First policy of President Carlos P. Garcia focused on how the Philippines will achieve independence in terms of economic. Since the Philippines is already an independent country, President Carlos P. Garcia aimed through this policy to prioritize Filipino businessmen by promoting Filipino business establishment over its foreign counterparts. And even though the aim of this policy is to prioritize the Filipino entrepreneurs and Filipino product, this will not close the door to those willing to collaborate with us in the exploitation of our vast natural resources. We will still welcome friendly and understanding foreign capital. The strength of Filipino First policy of President Carlos P. Garcia. We have avoided what would have been an avoidable forced devaluation. As a result of rampant inflation, we saved the lives of millions of people by preventing the devastation of their wages and salaries, savings, pensions and insurance, and other social security benefits. Second, the Republic gained credit and confidence abroad, as evidenced by numerous offers of credit lines and loans made to us by governments and major banking and financial institutions around the world. Third, production of all fronts, manufacturing, mining, and agriculture has reached new heights. There are tentative discussions about repealing the dollar margin law due to the alleged as a result of which prices have skyrocketed. However, we discovered that, in general, prices have risen at a slower rate than costs. This indicated that a sizable portion of the tax burden was absorbed by business profit margins. The increase in prices for prime commodities consumed by the masses was caused by certain tax laws, higher tariff rates on US goods, and most importantly, the general upward trend in production costs and prices at the sources of these important commodities. The latter is out of our hands.
Economic progress. In vital matters related to the national economy, at the start of last year, we were facing serious difficulties. The international reserve stood at a dangerously low level, and the financial position of the government was weak. Economic progress might be understood to mean an increase in the capability of a society to produce higher valued, more and better goods and services with the use of the same or equivalent resources. Thus understood, economic progress is synonymous with rising productivity.
Economic nationalism. The propulsive force that will take us to our economic goal is nationalism. We achieve political independence or the restoration of our sovereignty as a people by asserting consciously, fearlessly, and unceasingly our aspiration to become free and independent nation until the foreign sovereign power, America, finally agreed to the restoration of our independent political status. In other words, we asserted the prerogatives of our nationalism. This also meant restricting foreign investment in public utilities. The provisions were not revised but even elaborated in subsequent revisions of the Constitution. These provisions set a train of restrictive economic policies that help to compound the mistakes of early industrialization's policies.
Economic progress speaks highly of the courageous statesmanship of this Congress that, in spite of a stormy opposition accompanied by gloomy predictions of the prophets of doom, it passed the measure even in an election year. Economic nationalism transformation can still be worked out by the people themselves under the guidance and inspiration of their leaders through the stimulus of wise and far-sighted policies, perhaps with calculated sacrifices and perhaps also with advice and suggestions of disinterested foreign friends.
Economic progress might be good to mean an increase in the capability of a society to produce higher valued, more and better goods and services with the use of the same equivalent resources. Economic nationalism state is to use state power to support state's economic power so that economic power can be used to ensure that the state is as strong and independent as it can be.